Manjit, can we start?
Yes, sir.
So, good evening to all for attending the second session of AWS for All. So, yesterday we were discussing some of the points, and today we will continue with the same. So, just making a recap, what we have covered yesterday, we have given the introduction of the cloud computing, where we have defined what is cloud computing, what are the characteristics of cloud computing, what are the different data models being used into the cloud computing, and various types of cloud computing. Then within AWS platform, we have discussed which are the market players, who is the top market player, and what is the percentage of their contribution into the market. So we have found AWS is leading, and second place is by Azure, that is from Microsoft, and third was from Google GCP. And then we have discussed the global infrastructure. So what is global infrastructure? How the entire infrastructure means computer setup, hardware, processing powers, networking are spread throughout the globe. So global infrastructure, so they have divided their entire infrastructure into regions, and within regions they have availability zones, and within availability zones they have data centers. Here data center is the physical entity that really exists at some place, whereas availability zone and regions are logical entities. Then we move to the management console, and then we see from there are several drop down menus through which we can see what are the different regions available. Then if you need some help, there is a customer help menu also available, and then you have billing dashboard also. So billing dashboard is very elaborative. So what you are currently running. So it estimates, if you run the same for the complete month, it will estimate the amount and it will forecast it for you. And finally, we have created one EC2 instance. Instance means server. So in AWS, we call the instance as a server. Server is called the instance actually. So we have created one Windows instance, and we have seen how we can log in into the Windows instance. So we will continue from here. So again, regarding the Unikaksha, a few words regarding Unikaksha. Unikaksha are a group of passionate individuals determined to make a difference by the use of emerging technologies. We are providing training of different emerging skills like Internet of Things, machine learning, data science, robotic process automation, connectivity, security, edge computing, and many more, including various types of cloud computing. The demand for the workforce to be able to operate in the cloud is growing exponentially. So you all are aware of it. Unicaksha offers easy access to the new generation of cloud computing. One second, please. Yeah. Training library and other materials are also available with Unicaksha. So in the left column, you can see we offer the four different types of courses, starting from 20 hours foundation programs to job ready programs, which is more than 100 hours. And what the key skills we are providing, that is the current trend in the market, that is machine learning, data science with Python programming language, then Java programming, then full stack development, that is mean and mon both, and then Java, Python, and AWS, Azure, and many more. So what is today's agenda? So today we will discuss storage. So what different kinds of storage devices are used? So you must be aware of some which you are using these days. Then how AWS has provided different types of storage in different forms. We will be discussing them in detail today, and by practically we will see one of them. We will create one storage and then we will attach it to the existing instance that what we have created yesterday. Then AMIs. In yesterday's session, we have given a slight hint of AMI. What is AMI? Actually, whenever you are going to create a server, you need an operating system. So AMI contains the operating system, not only operating system, but it contains over and above operating system, it contains other piece of softwares. So there is one place in AWS that is called Amazon Marketplace, where all kinds of AMIs is available and you can go and select it. Again, we will go to that place and see the details of them. What is the use of AMI, how it is helpful to us. So all these features we will be looking today. Then third topic which we are going to cover is security. Security is again the main concern for the organizations because they are hosting their data not in the own premises to some other distant places. So we are going to see what are the different kind of security available and what is the nature of those security and where it is applicable. And sorry, and lastly, we will build a website. We have a template for that and we are going to deploy it on our existing server, what we have created yesterday. So this is regarding today's agenda. So before I can continue, if you have any question regarding previous day session, you can ask before I can continue. You can just ping. Any question? No. Okay. Then let me start with the storage. So what kind of physical devices used as a storage? So you might have heard of the tape drives. Initially, it was the main storage component of storing data in computers, not only into the computer, in the entertainment media also we were using it tape drives. Then the second category is optical storage device, then hard disk drive that is very much common today also. Again, it is of two types, internal and external. And then the latest one is the solid state drive, which is the latest one. So we will see each of them one by one. But before proceeding further, we will be encountering some term. So how our data are stored in a device. So there are a couple of methods. So and these are generally categorized as file, block, and object storage. So they are categorized into three types: file storage, block storage, and object storage. So let us understand what these three different types are storages, because in any of these devices, you will be storing data as a file storage or block storage or object storage, each with their own capabilities and limitations. So every file system, storage or block and object, everyone has their own advantage and disadvantage. So depending upon our uses, we choose or we select one device. File storage organizes and represents data in a hierarchy of files in folders. Block storage chunks data into organized size volumes, and object storage manages data and links to its associated in the form of metadata. How to create AMI? Well, uh, those it is not within the agenda, but I will show it to you today. Once we will deploy our website, we will show it to you. Because if you have subcomponent already installed on the server, then the advantage of the AMI increases. Okay, we will show it to you. So, first storage is your tape drive, right? A tape drive is a drive device that stores computer data on magnetic tape, especially for backup and archiving purpose. Like an ordinary tape recorder, a tape drive records data on a loop on a length throughout the tape drive. So you see, this says sequential storage of device. So there are two type of devices. All these devices can be categorized into two different types. One is sequential storage and other is random access storage. So what this mean and what is their benefit, in which application, which type of storage devices should be used. So let us consider a bank. So in bank, they have different kinds of transactions happening. So one kind of transaction, we call it OLTP, online transaction processing. That means one or two short transactions are happening. Example is, say you are going in a bank or ATM and you are withdrawing some money. So as soon as you withdraw your money, your account is updated. So in bank server, only one account or only one data is being updated. So this is called online transaction processing. So this type of application, that is OLTP, is not suited for sequential storage. It is best suited for random access storage devices, which are hard disk or other devices. The second advantage is used for mass volume of data. Mass volume is, say, uh, every data which is being generated in an organization have different life cycle. Life cycle means data is being generated, then it is consumed, and then it becomes the historical data. And as per rule of the organization and the government rules, you have to keep this historical data for a certain period of time. So you have to, one second, you have to keep those data. So since historical data is not used again and again, so you can keep it into the sequential storage devices. So another example, how sequential storage devices is beneficial. The same example we are taking of the banking industry. So earlier example was for online transaction processing, where one or two transactions is happening. Another is called the batch processing. So what is batch processing? So every 3 months or every month, bank is calculating interest for each and every customer account. That means every record, say a bank has 1 lakh customer, and on an average, every customer has 5 transactions in a month. So altogether, they have 5 lakh transactions in a particular month. So they have to process all the 5 lakhs transaction in one go. So data is stored in tape drives sequentially. For one customer, all the transactions will be there. Then second customer, all the transactions will be there. So what will happen? In the tape, one transaction will be read, its record will process, their interest will be calculated, then they will move to the second. So this is called the batch processing application. So tape drive is best suited for batch processing or archiving. What is archiving? Say, as I already mentioned, some data becomes historical. Historical means you don't need it on daily basis. So you will just keep it into the tape drive and keep in some safe place for the period it is required to hold the data. So access time is more. So why access time is more? If you are doing batch processing, it is good. But if you want to search one data out of 1 lakh data, and if your data resides in the middle of the tape, that means you have to read 50,000 records, then you will be arriving at the required data. So the access time will be more if you are not accessing it sequentially. Best for the batch processing, what we have already mentioned. So let us move to the second type of device. Okay. After the tape drives, this optical storage device was very much common and used in the computer industry. So initially it came the CT drives, they have some capacity. Then came the DVD drives, which have more capacity. And now Blu-ray. Blu-ray have much more capacity and quality is also good. So again, this type of optical storage devices have subcategories like CD means you can only read. There are some type of DVDs, once write and anytime read or many time read means there is a blank DVD. You can burn your data once only and then you can read it for infinite number of times. And then again, there are some kind of DVDs where you can write many times and you can read many times. So so it is random storage. So you can access the data, any data at any time. So capacity of the CD and DVDs are not much more. So we will say it's a low volume storage used for the boot drive. Earlier operating system where uh, in earlier days the PC don't have the hard disk, they have only the CD drives. So operating system was burn into these CDs, and once you put your CD into the computer drive, the operating system will be loaded into memory and your computer was workable. Access time is less since it is a random, so you can access the data very frequently. Then the most common of the storage type is hard disk drive. And again, we can categorize it into two categories: internal hard disk, that is, say, if you have a laptop or you have a desktop, there is a hard disk inside your laptop or you have a internal hard disk in your desktop, right? But you have USB storage devices like this one. So this is external. So you can put it into your USB drive. You can back up your data. You can transfer data from one place to another or any for any purpose. So hard disk drives are the most common devices which is being used these days, right? Now, solid state drives. These are the latest one and most useful. Why? Number one, they can access data randomly. Number two, low volume, but the only disadvantage is high capacity SSD are not available. Maybe maximum 1 TB or 2 TB, not more than that. They can be used for boot drive. Boot drive means you can burn your operating system into these drives. Access time is fastest. So among all types of storage devices, this has the maximum shortest access time. So these are used for booting your operating system and the lowest power consumption, and it can hold data infinitely for you. And this is the most common these days. Even not this, other entertainment devices, high performance servers, laptops, desktops, or any application that needs to deliver information in real time can benefit from solid state drive technology. Those characteristics make enterprise SSDs suitable to offload reads from transaction heavy databases. Not only this, your entertainment industry, we are habituated of using pen drive, which is also known as a flash drive. You can store your music, you can store your documents, even you can store your anything you want, and it is very convenient to hold and store the data. So basically these four types, apart from this, again, there might be some other types of storage devices, but they are not in use these days. So any question till now? No. Okay. Now, with the help of those different storage devices, AWS has come up with its own storage methods that are called AWS storage types. So these storage types may use one of the earlier devices. So EBS can use either hard disk or it can use SSD also. So we will see later on. Then there is another type of storage that is called EFS, Elastic File System. Then S3, Simple Storage, and then Glacier, which is used for the archiving purpose. You might have noticed in AWS, most of the service has this E representing elastic. So you are already familiar of the word elastic. Elastic means you can increase or decrease the capacity on fly, right? So now we will go one by one. So elastic block storage. This is most common storage device used for Amazon instances because they contain the boot drive. Boot drive means where operating system resides, and you can bring bring up your servers for operations. So creating a new EBS volume. So what we will be doing, creating a new EBS volume means this is a term being used for storage devices. Attaching an EBS volume to an EC2 instance. So yesterday we have created one server, Windows server, and it has only 30 GB of space. That is not sufficient for our day-to-day tasks. So what is required? We might be interested to add additional 50 GB, 100 GB, 1 terabyte, or whatever the space you need to add. So what we will be doing, we will create one EBS store, and then we will be attaching it to the Windows server. We will configure it, and then that storage will be available to Windows server. Say 50 GB drive we have added, so 30 plus 50. So it will become 80 GB for our workable space there. Creating a snapshot from an EBS volume. So what is the snapshot? In rough term, snapshot is nothing but a backup. So for most, we will see what is a snapshot, but roughly speaking, it is a backup. Copying EBS volumes between regions. So yesterday we have seen while discussing the global infrastructure, we have regions. So these regions are independent of each other. Each other means if Mumbai is one region, and in USA, say in New York, there is one region. So these both regions are independent of each other. So there is no link. Sorry. So there is no link in between the two. So if you have some data in Bombay region, you have created some data in Bombay region. So how you can transfer that data into the New York region? So with the help of this EBS, we can transfer it. What we will do, we will create one EBS volume, we will store data into it, and then we will detach that volume and we will attach that volume in the New York. So we will see later on how we can do it. Please send certificate link. Okay. Coordinators will get back to you on certifications. Don't worry.
All the new joiners, I just request to fill the form, and you will be getting the certificates once you fill all the form. You can continue, sir.
Okay. So second type of storage device is elastic file system, right? So what is the EFS? There is slight difference between EBS and EFS. If you have a EBS storage, you have created that volume, you have mounted it to a specific server, say Windows server. But you cannot share this device to another server. Say you have two Windows server, and if you want to share files in between them, so through storage media you cannot share. But in EFS you can share. If you have some files and you have mounted to one server, you can also mount it into the another server. But there is one restriction also. This facility is available only for the Linux server. In Windows server, it is not available. There is another method with the help of, if anyone has any idea, they have worked in Linux server, they might have seen the mounting points that can be shared to other server. So from different server, you can access the common storage location. So since it is elastic in nature, its capacity can be increased or decreased. While Amazon EFS supports file storage, it also provides support object storage, right? When deciding if you will be using which type of storage, so it will depend upon your uses. So moving to the next, Amazon S3. Again, Amazon S3 is a mass storage devices that is being used on day-to-day basis. There are several advantages of S3 storage. S3 provides a platform for storage of data in the form of object. Initially, we have discussed we can store data in the form of file system, in the form of objects. So it stores in the form of object. In the form of objects means objects is bulk. It collects the data and makes some bulk, and then it stores it. The object storage enables corporations to store, analyze, and retrieve large data from different platforms such as websites, mobile apps, customized company applications, among other devices. S3 server has a unique storage platform. It is designed and built to simplify functions. It has different types of application being supported, right? It also supports the encryption, so your data is secure. The data is reliable, data is durable. S3 is available in various regions across the globe. It allows geographical redundancy per region. You can also replicate S3 across areas. So we are using a term replicate. Replicate means you can represent the data into different regions with the help of S3. So some of the benefits, it is simple to use. Integration, just as I discussed, you can hook your, you can access it through your cell phones, through websites, other storage devices, other services of AWS easily integrates with S3 storage, right? Scalable. So as other storage devices are also, it is also scalable. At any time you can increase its capacity. Migration of data from cloud. So there is also one application, like you have an in-house application and you want it to transfer to the cloud. So there must be some media from where you will transfer, and then you will be using it into the cloud. And reverse also, some of the application or data you want to transfer from the cloud environment to your in-house department. So for that also S3 medium is also used. The unique feature is allowing website hosting in S3. So it is just a storage device. It is not a server. Still, you can host a website on it, but it should be a static website. I think you understand what is dynamic website and what is the static website. So static website doesn't changes its content. It is not hooked with any database, whereas dynamic website is very much dynamic, as its name says. Its content can be changed with the help of the database linked to it. So static websites can be hosted on S3. So it is a very good feature. You do not need any server, just your storage, and you will be provided one URL, and using that URL you can find whatever you have stored into the S3 storage devices. Moving to the next. So next is S3 Glacier. Earlier it was only called the Glacier. Later, Amazon introduced the word S3 Glacier. Why? Because there was a confusion among the people in IT community. They were thinking Glacier is using the tape drives, but that is not the fact. It is still using the whatever the S3 storage, like your SDD or HDD. Glacier is also using the same storage type. So they have just changed the name S3 Glacier so that this confusion is not there, right? So Glacier, the main purpose of Glacier is backup, archiving. So in a sense, it has replaced your tape drives. Tape drive was also using backups, archiving, and now glaciers are also used for backup and archiving purpose. Since we are using a storing data on mass scale, so the cost is low, cost is less. It is also secure and durable, and it's very simple. Through S3, we can transfer the data to the Glacier, and it can be integrated to S3 very easily, right? I'm not going into very much detail. Now, this is the practical time. Yesterday, we have created one instance. Let us log in into that instance, and then we will see instances is still running. Now, what we are going to do? Now, we are going to create one EBS storage. Then we will configure it, and then we will attach it to our existing Windows server. So what are the different steps? These are the very small steps, but we will go through one by one. So in our AWS Master Console, we have EC, under compute, we have EC2. Under that, we have EBS. Under that, volumes, and then create volume. Select volume type and size. So what is volume type? So volume type is composed of the different types of these storage devices, whether you want to use SSD, whether you want to use hard disk or some other types. And type also depends upon several other factors, like what is the speed of input output, because some of the application needs very fast access of storage devices. So depending upon the nature of your application, you will be selecting the volume type. So volume type you have selected, and then of course, how much space you require, that is size. So you are going to select that one. Now you have created one volume of EBS type. but it is in store. It is not being used by anyone. So you have created, you can get 1, 2, 3 and put it into store and you can use it later on. Now you need to attach this volume to a specific server. So maybe there are 5 or 10 servers running. You can attach this to a single server. So now we will attach this volume to a specific server where we want to increase the size. So select instance name, in which instance you want to add it. Then it will be attached to that one. Then we will log. So till now, till this step, we are into the AWS console. Now we have attached our hard disk to the Windows. Now we will log into our Windows server, and from this onwards, we will working on the Windows server. Logging to the Windows server to which we have already attached the volume, right? There we have to perform couple of steps. So we have computer management utility there. There we will select storage and disk management, right? You will see this is not online over there. So we will right click on that one and make it online. Then select default options, press OK. These are the steps we will show in the screen also. Allocate space to, so now say 50 GB you have attached. So it's not necessary you allocate all the 50 into a single drive. What you can do, you can partition it. You will say, okay, 30 GB will be allocated as a D drive and 20 GB will be allocated as F drive. Then once a new volume is created or drive, a letter is assigned C, D, E. So C is already there. So D, E, F, you can assign any letter. Then it is a road. Nothing is there. So you need to format it. Sorry. Format the drive. Now let us log into the server and see how it works. Or still I can show the screenshots. Just let me browse through it. So this was the first step. We have navigated to EC2, EBS volumes and create volume. You see, within EC2, we have elastic block storage and where we have volumes. Volume is storage. So we will be selecting this volume. You see, then you will be getting this type of screen. Here you are selecting the volume type, whether you want to use SSD or HHD hard disk or whatever it may be. Then here I have selected 10. You can select as per your requirement, 10 gigabyte. It is saying for this type, this will be the speed, right? Now, availability zone. So while discussing yesterday, we have seen one region has multiple availability zone, and in one region there must be at least two availability zones. Why? The one availability zone where you are creating your data, your services, and other is used for backup. So there can be more than two, but at least there should be two. So if a device is in one availability zone, say you have created your server in South 1B and you are creating this hard disk in 1A, then you cannot attach it. So both the server and hard disk should be in the same availability zone. So you have to check it. So leave these things, encryption, all those things we not required at this moment. So we have created. So once it has been created, this new line will appear. You see, 10 gigabyte of space has been created and now it is available. For rest in use means it is attached to a specific server. Available means it is just in store. So you need to attach it to a specific server. So next step will be you need to attach. So this is attach the volume to an instance. So create volume, no action. select this new volume and attach volume. You see there is the option attach volume. Please do send the recording. So, you will get it. You just contact the coordinators. They will send you the link. No problem. So now you have created the volume in AWS and now you have attached it to the Windows. That means now it is available into the Windows server. So we have two instances. So out of two, one we have selected where we want to attach. So it will attach over there. Now, once you have attached this one, you see this is showing in use. So you cannot use it for other servers. So once you have attached it, this is the part of storage of that new server. Now we have to log in into the Windows server. So we have logged into the Windows server where we have attached. So initially it has 30 GB of space. So it is showing, though we have attached it, but still it is not showing it because we need to configure it. Only then it will show up the new space. So following steps are to configure that storage into this Windows. So we are invoking computer management utility within that storage and disk management. So this is computer management, within this the storage and disk management, right? So within disk management, you see, this is being used. So it is showing this is unallocated. First, we have to make it online, then it will be available for use. So just right click and make it online. So still it is showing offline. So you have to make it online. Simple steps are there. So once you have made it online, so space has been available, but still is unallocated. Unallocated means you have not formatted it. You have not assigned a drive letter to it. Like previous storage has drive letter C, it must be formatted and assign a drive letter so that you can use it, right? Let me see, some charts are there. Stay into this recording, we share with you. Okay. Guys, won't worry about the recordings. It will be available to you. Now, next step is you have to initialize the disk and format it. So just right click again and you will get the initialize disk one. Take this default. You see, this is still unallocated. Now, it has created a new volume. You see. Now it is saying how much space you want. So total space is 10 GB. You can decrease it, say 5 GB, or you can consume the complete 10 GB. Click next. We want to consume complete 10 GB. Assign the following drive letter. It is asking C is already assigned, so it won't display C. It will display D, E, and F, so on. So we are taking D in serial order. Very simple steps. Now, once it has been allocated a drive, say D here in this case, then we need to format it. Once you will format it, it will be available for use. Format a quick format, no problem. You have formatted. Once you have formatted, it is displaying the statistics and then finish. Once you finish, you see this is available to you. Now go to your PC. You see now this volume is available with 10 GB of space, right? So now let us log in and do this. Okay. So this is our AWS console, or we also call it management console or master console. So where we can get within compute, we go to EC2. You see, within EC2, you see elastic block storage is there, and there is volume. So we will click on this volume. So create volume. You see how many types of volumes are there. These are SSD, 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 HDD, and within that they have different purpose. GP means general purpose, IO means for intensive input or output operations, and according to this, your pricing will be also changed. So cold HDD, so there are various types. So you can select one of them. Say, let us select the first one, SSD. It by default it is giving 100. Let us take say 25 gigabyte. Okay. So what it is saying, for this type of volume, for this space, you will be getting 300 to 3000 input output operations. Okay. Now AP South A, this is the availability zone where it will be creating your hard disk. So your instance must be in the same, right? Let us check whether our instance is running in the same or not. So duplicate. If you are creating your hard this volume into another availability zone and your instance is another, you cannot attach it, right? So services EC2. Let us verify where our instance is. So yesterday we created this instance, right? Win, if you remember, right? Now where is win? Get instances win. Now I am scrolling it right, and now you see this is showing availability zone AP South 1A, and this is within Mumbai region. Within Mumbai region, there are two availability zones, 1A and 1B, and this instance has been created in 1A. So we need to create our volume in 1A only, AP South 1A only. So coming back here, so by default, it is showing AP South 1A. You see, there is another. Actually, there are three availability zones: 1A, 1B, 1C in Mumbai region. So we have to create in 1A also only, because our server is running in this availability zone only. Snapshot. This is the backup that is not required at this moment. So we do not need encryption also. We do not need at this moment. So tag we have already discussed. You can give a name to this one. So give a name. Is name and value you can give win 25 GB. Say then create volume. Now you see this we have just now created, right? And now it is saying available. As soon as you hit click over there, this is available to you. Rest are in use. This is available means it is in store. You can attach it in any of these two servers. So what is the next step? We need to select this one and attach it. Till now, this will be not available into the Windows. So let us log into the window also. What we have created. So in parallel, we can check it. So let us log into this one. How? We need to connect through RDP client, and then we need to download password. So we have two keys. One is within the server, one we have already downloaded it. So once they will be combined, only then you will be able to log in, because password will be generated once those two keys are matched. So get password, it will ask your private file. The name we have given demo key. So we will browse and see where it is. Desktop plus. So yeah, you see, I have stored it here. So I will open it. So decrypt password. Now it has generated this password. We will copy this and now we will log into that Windows instance. Connect. Username is administrator by default. We will give it okay. Yes. So we are into the Windows server, right, which we have. One second. It is not going here. Okay. Okay. So let us check it. What is the space now? You see, this PC, though we have attached our new hard disk into this, still it is not showing it here because we have not configured it yet. So let us configure it. So what is the step? Computer management. We need to go computer management. This is the utility in Windows. And within this storage, within storage, disk management. You see. Okay. So here it is not showing because we have not attached it into our AWS console. So let us attach it. Okay. So select this one and so this is already selected. So still it is available. So go to the action pane, attach volume. Okay. And on which device you want to instance, you see. We have two instances running and it is asking on which. So this is our instance window. So we are attaching it over here. Now it will show in use. You see, once you have attached it, it is showing in use means it is out of store. So it is not available for other servers. So still it is attaching. It won't take much time. Okay. So it has completed. Now again, we will go to the back here. Now you see, once you have attached it, it is available here, but it is still unallocated. So we need to configure it. What are the steps to configure it? Make it online. The first step, make it online. You see. Then not initialize disk. Okay. The same steps we are performing, what we have shown into the PPT. So again, sorry, new simple volume. Next, everything. Now you see, total is 25. If you want to decrease, say you want to 10 gigabyte. So it will create only 10 gigabyte space from here, but we want to take a full one. Okay. Back, next. Okay. 25,000. Chalo, okay. Okay. It will all take 25597 is the full capacity. Okay, we have taken the full capacity. Then next, now it is asking which letter you want to assign. C is not available because C is already mounted. Let us take D. Next, which type of file system? Generally, we use the NTFS. So let us take the default. This is showing the statistics. Now you see it has been mounted. Now you need to format it. Oh, sorry, we have already formatted it. Let us check whether it is showing or not. You see, new volume is already available. So let us take, say there are two files. Let us take it to this volume and paste it. You see, now this D is available and we are using it. And if you go to the PC, you see this is our earlier drive and this is our new drive of 25 gigabyte. So in this way, so what are the main steps? First, you have to create a volume in your AWS console where you have to specify what is the disk size, what is the instance type, and other parameters in which availability zones you want to create. Then you have to attach it to a particular instance, and then you have to log into that particular instance. Then you have to bring it online, configure it, assign the drive letter, format it, and then it is ready to use. So is it clear or any doubt? Any doubt, let me know. Then we can proceed further. Any doubt? Okay. So let us move ahead. Okay. Okay. Good to hear from you, Abhilasha. Okay. As we have created a volume and we have attached it to the instance, the reverse process is also very simple. We can detach it, we can reattach to the other instance, or we can delete it. So let us do that also. It won't take much time, right? So, sorry, not this one. Hmm. So go and click here. Offline. Okay. And then come to the console. You see, this is already selected. Detach volume. Yes, detach. Now, if you go to your Windows instance, it won't be available. You see, now it is not available because we have already detached it, right? So now, now in use, oh, still it is detaching it. Okay, let it do it. So now it is available, but what we have done, we have transferred two files over here, right? So those files are still here. If we reattach it, those files will be still available. Or what we can do, we can attach this. One second. We can attach this to another server and we can copy those files to that server. So in this way, we can make backup of some files from one server and put it into the other server. But we are not going to do that. But the process is very simple. We are going to delete it. Delete volume. So what it will do, it will remove it from here and release the space to the AWS so that we will not be charged because we are not using from now onwards. So I think you are very much clear on this. So we will be moving to the next step. So before moving to the next step, I guess someone has asked yesterday how you can create an account. So just I am providing you the link and pasting into the chart work. So what you can do, just Google it, create free tier AWS account, right? Just select it, sign up, create a free account. Uh, say academic. So you can specify anything, but better learning and certification and submit. What happened? Complete sign up. What is this management? Oh, oh, since I have already my account, so it is going there. Let me take another window, new Cognito window, and okay, Google. It is going to my account by default. AWS free tier account, sign up, create free tier account. So you see your email address, right? Then password, confirm password, and AWS account name. As I have given something else, you see what I have given. I have given keep on learning. You can give your name or anything you wish. So once you once you fill all these things, it will ask some couple of more details like your phone number and your credit card information. So what it is doing with the credit card, it is going to authenticate you. So first it will detect 1 rupees from your account, only 1 rupees from your account, and within couple of days it will again revert back that account, that amount to your account. So your email, your phone number and credit card information will be required to sign up this account. Once you sign up with this account, within 24 hours your account will be created. So with the help of email, you can log in into it and you can use it. So for complete 1 year, most of the services will be free. So you can just Google what are the services free, for how long you can use those services. You can use it for any of the purposes, right? Any doubt in it? Okay. So this was, let us come back to our slide. Those are good. Hmm, good, no doubt. So this is our slide, right? So we have already covered this one. Mm, So this we have already covered. Now, what is AMI, right? Someone has also asked it today, what is AMI? So in roughly you are aware what is AMI. So for any operating system, for any server, you need one operating system to be installed. So this AMI contains operating system in it. And along with operating system, it may contain some additional tools and utilities. So what are the main advantage of AMI? Say you have created one server operating system, and on top of that, you have installed couple of more applications. Say as we are going to install one website, so we have installed that website. Now our server has two components, operating system and website. Now your objective is to do the same thing for another 10 servers or 20 servers or 50 servers. So what you can do, you again create 20 servers with the help of that AMI, then you deploy the website in all the 20 servers. So you are going to repeat the same task again and again, right? So instead of that, this AMI will help us. How it will help us? So what we will be doing, so first we will create a server, we will install one operating system into it, then we will configure that server, and then we will deploy our website on top of it. So now my server has all the things which we require to copy in another 10 servers, right? Once you have already installed all these components, you will make your own AMI. So this AMI will contain your operating system, your website, and whatever the components you have already put it in between these two, that will be available in AMI. So AMI is a storage location. It will occupy some storage because your operating system will be copied, right? Your website content will be copied. So it will occupy some space as a snapshot. It will be backup of your existing server. It will be boot drive, it will be your website and rest of the components, whatever you have installed over there. So now you have created your own AMI. This is your private AMI, right? Now, with the help, now you are going to create another server with the help of your private AMI. Now your private AMI have two components, your Windows operating system as well as your website in it. So if you are going to create a new server with help of this AMI, both the Windows operating system as well as your website will be available into that one. So I think the idea is clear. What is AMI? Now I will take you to the marketplace. So where all the AMIs are listed, that is called the marketplace. And types of AMI, as I already discussed, it is two types, private and public. Public means you can use any public AMI to create your operating system and other things, but private is available to you only or to whom you have given permission to use. That's the simple meaning of public, right? So coming back to our here. So EC2 instances, yesterday we have seen it, dashboard. Now you see, this is called the AWS marketplace and all types of AMIs are here. So if you take this one, this is the name, and then it is showing this is 64-bit operating system, right? And what are the components in this AMI? Linux, and along with this, what is there? These are the libraries available in. Let us browse some other one. This is Enterprise Edition Red Hat. This is also another flavor of Linux. This is Ubuntu. This is another flavor, Microsoft. This is 19. Now you see, Amazon RDS. No, not this one. Windows. I'm trying to find someone. Uh, you see, this one. It has operating system as well as Microsoft SQL Server. So two components are available. If you are selecting this one, that means you are going to install operating system as well as Microsoft SQL Server. Similarly, you can find as per your need, what are the different components you require. Let us see. You see, this is 2012 release 2 with SQL Server again. Let us come here. Now here you see free tier only. So This is free trial eligible, means if we are going to create a server with the help of this AMI, we will not be charged. But if free trial is not written and we are selecting this one, we will be charged as per its charges. And that is generally in number of minutes your server is up and running, right? So how we can filter it? So you see there is one filter, just click it. Now you are going to see only the free tier. So you can select any of this free tier AMI and you can create, right? There is another option also, move it, my AMI. You see, we have not created any of the AMIs till now, so it is not appearing. If we are going to create our private AMI, it will be appearing here. So what is shared with me? As I already said, if you have a private AMI, you can share it with someone. You can give privilege to some other user to go and create services with the help of my AMI. If someone has given permission to you, that will be appear here if I click this one. Now, how you can filter more, you see, you need 32-bit of operating system. Hmm, 1 second, within my AMI, or you can filter with, we have selected someone. Okay, we go here. Okay. You see, by operating system, you can select, you need only Windows. You see, only Windows will appear, right? So you can filter. If you want 32-bit, you see, only 32-bit operating system will appear. So from here, you can filter root device type. So which type of root means where operating system. So we are not taking this one. So you might have understood what is AMI. So once we will create our website, we will try to create one AMI. Then we will find that AMI is available over here. Okay. So we are going to move to the next topic. So we have already covered this one. Now security. Security is also one of the main concern by the organizations because they have very precise and precious data with them. And before sharing in the sense, they are putting into some common place. So generally users are very afraid how we can put our banks are still some banks are not willing to put their data into the cloud environment and they are hosting it in their own server. So because this data is very critical for them, very important for them. So security can be at different levels like network and infrastructure security. So yesterday we have discussed VPC. So VPC is also a part of network security because within network you are creating one more protected environment. So why those things are required? Generally, when we design an application, it has different layers. Like database servers are there, then you have application tier, then you have front end tier. Front end tier is exposed to the user where they log in, but the middle tier or application tier and database tier, they don't have direct access. They are protected within a closed environment that is called VPC. So those protected servers like database and your application are confined into the VPC and the web tier which is exposed to the user. So no one from the outside within the network can directly access to your server physically, right? Then second is host and endpoint security. What is the endpoint security? So 1 second, guys. Yeah. Endpoint security solutions offer real-time visibility and protection, enabling business to prevent, detect, and respond to the threats to the on-premises virtualized EC2 instances. Cloud endpoint security, what is the endpoint? Like a URL. Relevant in today's business world. Whether you are moving workloads to the cloud, integrating to some other skills like IoT, or adopting container technology, which is very much popular these days. So all have a endpoint through which you can log in into the server and access data to and from. Then data protection and encryption. So data is generally in two stages. One is stored into the hard disk or storage devices, and one is in transit. You are transferring data from one place to another place. So data is in transit and data lying on the server. So both can be encrypted. There are couple of tools available which can be used for this data encryption. So one of the tool we can use and we can encrypt the data. So again, no one can, even someone can have access to the data. They cannot decrypt it because it is in encrypted form. Unless they have the key, they cannot do with anything with those data. Then identity and access control. This is the common and applicable to all applications, whether it is within the cloud, whether it is in online premises, or even we are using it. Say if we have a Gmail account, so how we log into the Gmail account? We have identity, we provide our credentials and passwords, so that is our identity. And access control means how you log in. Say these days you may have found some of these applications configure your devices through your laptop. Only you can log into your account through your phone only, and they register these things. So these are the access control. Similarly, in AWS, there are different types of access control. So once you create an account, like in Windows, you have created Windows Server. So one master account has been created known as administrator. If you are creating a Linux server, root is the master account. And with the help of these master accounts, you can log in with the help of master account, and you can create different users, and you can give access privilege to those users to what they can do, what tasks they can perform on that specific server. Similarly, here in AWS, we have identity and access control entire management tool. With the help of that, say we have created one account with the email ID that is called the root account. That is the master account. Now, say in my organization, there are under 10 people who are using it. We will create these user accounts and we will be giving privilege to them for the period or for the purpose they require it. Like one is sales department person, and one of the application is in server X. So we will be giving access to him for only that server. Though there are 10 servers, though he can log into the AWS, but he cannot log into other servers. Similarly, for the marketing department, he will be able to log in to only those applications for which the access control has been given to them. So first their account will be created, that is the identity, and then they have given some access control. So this is direct, means through the user. Not only this, there are other types of access control also, because some programs are also accessing your device, not as a user. One program interacts with your devices. So to those program also you are giving the access control with the help of APIs and other methods are available, right? So moving to the next slide now. we will be building a website. So what are the mandatory steps for it? You must have a server, then you have to log into the server, then we will install or configure the web server over there, because your website will work on that only. Then we will deploy the website code and log into the URL to see the website. Very simple step. So here we are not going to write the code. We have downloaded a template of a website that is shown here. So we will just deploy it and we will access it from anywhere. And then we will see the access control, how we can access this website from other places, right? Let me go back. Let me log into the instance. So this is the instance, right? Here we have already configured our IIS server and we can access it. You see, this is the page of IIS server. So this is localhost and it is accessing the web page. That means our web server is working over here. So minimize this one. Now go to the C. We will be going to this directory and you see there is a www root. And this is the page which is coming over there. This is called the document, this directory. WWS root is called the document directory, which is taken by this web server as a default page. So whatever is written over here, that is being displayed over there. You see, let me open this figure. You see, I opened it into the paint. Say I can write something over here. Let me write something, anything. Say AWS, right? Now I am going to save it. So I have changed the image of this one. So now let us again access the same site and what it is going to display. Refresh it. 1 second. Okay. Sometimes it is within the cache. That's why it is not accepting it. Where is refresh? Localhost is not taking the page. Okay, let me. Okay, no issue. So now what we are going to do, we will take and deploy. This is sometimes this page is within the cache and it doesn't remove that cache unless we will clear the cache. So because we have to deploy, so we are not going to do that. So what we are going to do, you see, we will take one template, desktop, so class. So you see, this is one template, and let me, I have already unzipped it. So this is in this directory. Okay. What we are going to do, we are going to copy it, all the files. You see, I have copied all the files. And now you see how it is easier for copying from my local PC. I can copy there without any problem. And I am going to this one, and here I am going to copy those files, paste. You see, all the files have been copied. So let me remove this one. Control X. Let me put it somewhere else. Okay. Now let us try to access it. Okay. Let us give a try from my PC. What it's doing. Why it is not releasing the cache? So what is the IP address? I need an IP address. So how we can get the IP address? Service EC2 instance. So this is the server, right? Select this server. Uh, mm, you see, every server has two types of IP address. One is public and one is private. So we need to, through internet, I am here and I will be connecting through it via internet. So I need a public IP address, right? Public IP address. I am taking this one. Either you can write this IP address or the complete name. You see, this is the IP address 13.233.70.243, right? And go to the, you see, 127.0.0.1. You see, now it has came this time, right? So you see, the site has already came. So this is from the local server we are accessing it, because we are logging into the local server, but this is my PC. Through internet, we are logging to a website. So we have taken the template of a site and we have just deployed over here. So now this PC has, and now one more thing regarding security, I will take it there. So yesterday you have seen, we have granted one permission, right? Wait, 1 second. Yeah, this is the security group, AWS for all, inbound rules. So there are two types of rule. Who can connect from outside and what data you can send from the server to the outside world. So the inbound rules and outbound rules. So inbound rule, edit inbound. You see, yesterday we have this RDP, right? And we have given permission to 3389 port. So with the help of this permission, we were able to log into the server with RDP utility, right? But this has been added by me today. That means anyone, I am saying for any port, and anyone can log into this server. If I remove this one, I will not be able to access the website. Though I will be able to log into this RDP, let me just remove this one, DCP, delete, save rules. And now I will try, I will close this one and again I will try to access this one. Okay, still it is taking from cache. Let it save. 1 second. Let it save, or I will open into the Cognito window. So you see, I have restricted it So no one can access it. Now, at various level, I can give access. How I can give access? With the same rule. Where is the rule? Now, if again I give the privilege add rule, custom TCP, say I give to all traffic, all TCP, anywhere IP and save rule. Now, what I am doing, I am giving this IP address to all of you, and you try to log into this server. Let me ping in the chat box. Chat box. Can you all try to log in into this website and see if you are able to log in or not? Just ping me whether you are able to log in or not. If anyone is able to log in, let me know. Yes, Lokesh says he is able to log in. So now I am restricting, and then you again try, right? So again, I am going to delete those rules. Inbound rule, edit inbound rule. I am going to delete this one, right? Save rule. Now you again try, but with a different window. Otherwise, it will take from the cache. Now again, just you try. Lokesh, whether you are able to log in or not, you won't be because we have restricted you. Not only you, everyone. Even I won't be able to log in. You see, still it is moving. Yes, sir. So in this manner, we can secure our environment and we can give access to anyone or to a specific IP address. So the person using that IP address can log in it. So this is one of the example of the access control, right? So do you have any question till now? So you see, I am also not, but still I am able to log into the server. Why? Because the RDP 338 port is already opened, right? This is I am within the server. Now what I am going to do, I will show you the example of AI. Now this server has two components, operating system and your website. Let me make a AMI of this one. Okay, dashboard. Now images, action. One second. This is your window, right? And before that, what I will do, I will, okay, we will do it later on, no problem. Actions, images, create image. So we have selected this instance where we have our operating system as well as this website, right? So image, create image. Image name, Win plus site. This is the name we have given. Okay. Rest we are taking as a default. Okay. Uh, Image description nil चलो कुछ नहीं है. Okay, no reboot. No reboot means your server will not be booted and it will take the present. Add new volume, no. So why it is not going my instance? Okay, now sorry, it is hidden over there. So create image, close. Now go to the images, AMI. Now it is creating, you see, and status is pending. So create own password. Yes, you can create your own password. There is a different procedure for that. So what it is doing, it is creating an AMI, and that will be a private AMI for you. And with the help of that private AMI, we can create another server. Just wait a couple of minutes. Let me refresh it. So I request all of you to fill this form so that in future we can contact you regarding new courses.
Sorry to interrupt to you, sir.
No problem.
Guys, please fill the feedback form also. Thank you so much for the joining the session.
So once this AMI will be created, we will launch an instance and we will check it and we will be binding. So yeah, you see, now it is available. Now you see, and also let us give it a name. Say new AMI. Okay. Okay. Now you see, as we have created our earlier instance, we are going to launch a new instance this time. Launch instance. Now my AMI. Now you see, we have created this AMI, so we will be selecting this AMI. And we will take all the default parameters. Sorry. I am taking all the default parameters. The same our time and new security group, or we can use the existing security group. Say we are taking Windows for all, okay, and launch instance, launch, and we will be taking the same key management. Now our instance will be created with our AMI. So this AMI or this server should contain two things: operating system and our website. So in between, what we will do, launch instance, sorry, no, services. We will stop the earlier instance, so it will be more clear to us. Uh, so these are our earlier instances. I am going to stop these instances, okay? This is stop. You see, the earlier two instance I have stopped, and this is the new instance what we have created, right? And it is still initializing. So we will be logging to this instance. It is creating our instance. So once we will get a status as 2 by 2, we will be able to log into this instance. So we have filter. So we can see only the running instance. Yeah. Now let us try to connect to this instance. Download. It will have a different IP address, right? And again, still password has not generated. We need to wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. No, still it is not. In between, we can configure this group so that we will be able to log in it from our server, because we have already deleted it. Or TCP anywhere, save, okay, and instances, and let us take his IP address, public IP address. Copy IP address. It is a new server, so it will have a different IP address, right? You see, this is a new server. Earlier, it has a different IP address. It has a 233.70.243 and website is available to us. So it has created it and it has deployed the website. So whatever the content was there during AMI KSN, it has stored all those things. So everything is available to us. So with the help of this AMI, we can create as many servers as we wish. So with this, I have done. So if you have any question, I think Manjit, I have done, and there is no query. So
Yes, sir.
thanks guys for attending.
So guys, please fill the form of certification. Free. It's a free certification, and also please fill the feedback form also. And you have any query, please write message. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.